We think you should know that Imperfect Heroes podcast is a production of Little Hearts Academy USA.
Welcome, heroes and heroines, to episode 115 of Imperfect Heroes, Insights into Parenting, the perfect podcast for imperfect parents looking to find joy in their experience of raising children in an imperfect world. And I'm your host, DJ Stutz. Before we get started, I'd love to tell you about a great opportunity. Are you ready to become the ultimate guide in your child's developmental journey? Little Hearts Academy USA has a new self-paced Cicerone Masterclass. This is a transformative course designed to empower parents with the knowledge and tools that they need to foster their children's social, emotional, and academic readiness for school. So there are 4 comprehensive modules to help you dive deep into understanding your parenting style and how it impacts your child's growth. So learn to navigate the critical stages of your child's development with confidence and ease, and understand how to best support your child as they get ready for school and throughout their early grades. Register for the masterclass now by visiting the website www.littleheartsacademyusa.com or simply by clicking the link that you're going to find where? Yeah, you know it, in the show notes. So get ready for an enlightening episode, and I am thrilled to introduce our captivating guest today, none other than Adele Bernard. She has a resume longer than any bedtime story marathon. Adele brings over 2 decades of experience as a transition coach to our conversation. And hold on to your parenting hats as we dive deep into a topic that's like trying to teach a butterfly to drink from a cup. It's managing life's transitions, going from being a solo person on your own to marriage to parenthood, keeping up with the ever-changing tides. We are about to explore the deep end of these transformative waters. But wait, there's more. We'll also take a dip into the cosmic pool of handling kids' transitions and dealing with the energy vampires that lurk in the shadows. Adele Bernard isn't just a guide. She's a transition whisperer. Do you need help going from, wow, I slept through the night, to, oh, I barely slept? Well, she's your guru. And whether it's wrangling with the chaos of moving houses or surviving the Bermuda Triangle that we call marriage, Adele's got your back. Her secret sauce? Shifting from mind tornadoes to heart serenity, all while finding wisdom in the whirlwind. So get ready for a roller coaster of insights, laughter, and a couple of aha moments that hit you like a toy truck in the dark. Her expertise is about to sprinkle a whole lot of clarity into our parenting escapades, and it's going to be a ride that even the wildest toddler would just love. There's so much to learn, so let's get started. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for choosing to spend the next few minutes with us here at Imperfect Heroes podcast. And today we are talking about just your inner being, how to make transitions, how to move from one thing to another without getting all stressed and chaotic about it. And I've got this amazing guest with me, and we've connected so well. We just kind of set up times to just talk because we've enjoyed each other now for a little bit. And this is Adele Bernard, and Adele is a transition coach, which is very different from a life coach. And Adele, why don't you explain the difference for us?
So just in a nutshell, the difference from a life coach. So a life coach is going to take you through certain steps, certain programs. It's like you set out, say, a 12-week program or an 8-week program, and there's certain steps and stuff to follow. Where people that come to me, like clients that come to me, would be more of, oh my gosh, I'm all stressed out. I don't know if I should take this job. Do I stay at this job? Or should I buy this house? Is this a right move for me? And it's helping you get clarity and see the light in your discernment to make the decisions to move forward out of those chaotic times.
Yeah.
Can I do life coaching? Absolutely. But this is a faster, more succinct program or process.
And I think too, when we talk about, because we look at families with those young kids, birth to 8, and we're second guessing ourselves all the time. We're super stressed out all the time. Oh, we're in the middle of the grocery store and my daughter just hit the floor with a temper tantrum over Cocoa Puffs or whatever. And so we get really caught up in the stress in trying to manage the chaos. We seem to add more to the chaos very often. Then, parents who are first time, brand new parents, I don't care if it's your first or your eighth, every baby brings a new transition into your family and into your life. And then there are the different events that are going on with how do I manage? I've got Susie at piano lessons and Joey at football, and then Jamie wants to be in soccer. And you just feel like you're in this for much of the time.
And that brings up the question of every parenting style is different. And we were actually talking about that, about with 4 generations all talking about how to raise kids or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was brought up with hands off. Like, you want to cry? Okay, well, sit there and cry. I'm moving on.
Right. I love that.
Catch
And
up
that's
to me
what
when
I
you
push.
can. And then others are like, so like coddle. And it's like, okay, if that's working for you. Right. And then, like as working in the schools and stuff, it's like the helicopter parents. Are you going to go to their first job with them?
Yeah.
You're not teaching them skills that they can move forward with. Right. And so, I mean, I'm not saying one way is better than the other, but when you're looking at 0 to 8, those are the most crucial times for the kids.
Absolutely.
Because if you look at a 6-year-old before they go to school, that's what kind of an adult they're going to be. So if they're whiny, mopey, can't speak, you're going to have an adult that's whiny, mopey, can't speak. If you have a well-rounded child that can go into a group of kids and figure out play and get it along, and that's how they're going to be as an adult. And it's catching them before they get into these bad habits. And yes, I know the preteens, they go into the ugly phase and you go, just breathe through it. But even then, they're going, well, who am I? My body's changing, my life is changing, my friends are, because they're getting all into their emotions. They don't know how to handle their emotions, right? And then they have their own tapes of what's been taught in their family. And it's just being that support for anyone being there. For me, it's really coming back to, we have to rely not only ourselves, but the community is raising the next generation. We got lost sight, and I don't know if it's the last generation of you have to work, you have to do it all, I'm not sure, and I don't want to point fingers, but we got to get back to the community raises the next generation, the neighbors, the teachers, the family, that like everyone's involved. The parent does have the last say, but if the friends aren't being nice, we'll sit them down and mediate what's going on.
Right.
And maybe they shouldn't be friends. Not everyone's supposed to be friends.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you look at like the parents who grew up with no self-esteem. They think they're over it until their teenagers start going through the same thing, and they go back to that 13-year-old who got bullied. So now they're trying to do it together.
Yes. And as someone on the outside looking in, right, I can see what's going on there. I can see. And yet sometimes it's really hard to get them to see what they're doing to themselves and to their kids and to help them. What I love about you, in fact, the first time I think we talked, I was like blah, 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 all over the place because I'd had a family death and we were trying to get things worked out, and I was trying to get a bunch of things done so I could help out with the funeral and get things aligned there. And I just had so much going on in my head. I was kind of all over the place, you remember. And you were like, DJ, just breathe.
And that's the thing, right? Chaos can't happen when we are centered in ourselves. If we're feeling fear, we're in the future.
Yeah.
If we're feeling depression or sad, we're in the past. We're not present in ourselves. Okay, so think about the tantrum. The tantrum happens because the child is going, I'm trying to connect mommy and daddy. I'm trying to connect mommy and daddy. I'm trying to connect, and I don't feel you. Oh, I might get attention if I lay on the floor and scream, right? They're not getting attention. If the parent just would breathe and stay connected, yes, you're shopping, yes, you're driving, yes, you're whatever. They have left their presence. They're not centered in their key. And that tantrum is telling you the child is picking up that you're not present.
Yeah.
You
Now,
get present, the tantrum goes away.
do you think that sometimes parents are asking too much or maybe asking the wrong thing of a child? And so the child responds with their tantrums or their whatever because they're having difficulty managing with what the parent is asking them to do.
It can be a little bit, but if you're asking your child as you're walking away, go clean up your room, the child's gone, no, because you're not even here explaining it to me. If you go in front of your child, eye to eye, and part of being in this family is these are what it's not expectations, it's part of being in the family.
Yeah.
Your room needs to be clean. You give them boundaries, right?
Yeah.
You can do it in an hour after you have Johnny goes home. You can do it, but it will be done by this time.
Right.
Then the kid has flexibility to make his own choices, take autonomy for the choices he makes, but he also has consequences if it's not done.
Right.
Right. And so when you think about if a kid comes up and you're busy, and this is teaching them too. You can teach a toddler, a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old. If you're busy in the kitchen and they're going, mommy, 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 and they're not answering, that means mommy's busy. Mommy can't stop and give you attention at this minute. If you call out mommy and mommy can't come, teach him to breathe until mommy can address you. And then when you stop, say you stop washing the dishes and you address that 2-year-old eye to eye and you say, yes, sweetheart, what do you need?
Yeah.
You think the kid's going to hear it? The kid's going to learn? I've even been thinking of my own childhood and I'm like,
Right.
and my sister and I laugh about it going, they were so not present. So you explain the whole situation of why you wanted to go, say, play in the park with Sally, but they're busy cooking dinner. They're busy whatever. We didn't have their attention. And I'm saying this is for us as adults also. Because if I'm not present, traffic's crazy. Did I cause it? No, I'm just not really present to what's going on, right? If I'm present, I get green lights all the way. Perfect. Thank you. Yeah. And so in your set as a classroom, you got to keep scanning who's falling out of being present. They're going to start having more problems. They're going to get frustrated with the homework, right?
Yeah.
Because they stop breathing because they're studying so hard on the problem that you've given them. They go into the shallow breath. And in the shallow breath, we are not centered in who we are.
And now with my kiddos, with the kindergarten and then some preschool in there, so it wasn't necessarily like math. I mean, we're doing counting, simple addition, simple subtraction, that kind of stuff. But where I found that the most frustration was helping kids learn to deal with other kids, right? So, oh, I'm building this block tower. Oh, Joey has 3 pieces I need. And so I just go over and grab them, or I destroy his thing in order to get what I need without thinking of, oh, is this going to affect Joey? And so first helping Joey to breathe through his anger about having the blocks taken from them, because sometimes they'll hit or whatever to get it their way.
But it's also in teaching them too.
Yep.
You have the tools you have in front of you. Joey might have something that Tommy wants, but that doesn't mean Tommy can go and get it.
No.
Tommy can ask Joey, do you mind if I take this block? It's called communication. It starts from way little.
Yeah. Well, and then giving Tommy the understanding that Joey's perfectly within his rights to say, no, that's what's holding up my building. You can't have it. Joey doesn't have to share it just because Tommy asked. So what are you going to do if Tommy says no? Or Joey says no.
Yeah. And Tommy can come over and say, I have this piece. Could we trade? Or can I help you? Like,
Yeah.
Like I can't figure out how this piece that you have can't fit in my thing. And then you can say, well, let's work together. It
Yes.
comes down to the basic
Yes.
necessities of teamwork, being heard, right?
Yes.
But I'm not saying this is easy and it's like going to happen smoothly and there's never going to be tantrums. But I'm telling you, from years and years and years being around kids, being around distracted parents, there's no accident that everyone's saying, oh, we got to meditate, we got to meditate. Well, there's no point meditating if you're going to spend the rest of 23 hours disconnected.
You're so right. You're so right.
Even just starting in any practice, like I did this with some of my work colleagues years ago because they were distressed. I go, stop coming to my office like this. I can't do it. And they're like, well, how do you stay calm? I go, every hour on the hour, I take 3 deep breaths. If that's not enough, every half an hour on the hour, take 3 deep breaths. And if that's not enough, do it every 15 minutes. And they're like, what's that going to do? And I go, come back and tell me what it does. They're grown adults going, oh, I go, exactly.
Yeah. And imagine giving your little guys those same tools.
They do.
From the time they're little,
Mhm.
imagine the difference that it's going to make in so many areas of their life. One of the things that I did in my classroom was we would have different places like centers and different areas of focus and all of these things. We would have little pictures. I'd laminate them because I was the teacher. We do that, but have them posted of choices that they could make. And so it would be like maybe trade or build together or different things that they could do. I can ask. I have the right to say no. All of those things. And they were posted around, not just to help the kids, because we had the words plus a visual, because kids are just learning to read at that age and not all of them were there. But it wasn't there just for the kids to remember. It was to help sometimes me to remember, or my aide or a specialist that was in the room or whatever, that we would see those reminders. And I wonder about sometimes having those kind of reminders around the home in different places,
Well, and
too.
it's true. So a good friend of mine was becoming a CPA and she's super smart. And I'm like, why are you so dumb at this? And she's like, pardon? And I said, you're missing the connection. Like you read this stuff, but you can't put it on the paper. Where's the connection? What went up around the house? I'm winning. I've passed. It's only an exam that I can do in my sleep. Whatever. It's not my whole life. It's just one step. All of our house.
Yeah.
She's the top 10.
Good for her. Yeah.
Right? In Canada. Yeah. So it's like, really? If you miss the fundamental step, and here's other things too, right? There's no, can you do something? Will you do it? There's no must. There's no shoulds. There's no try.
There is only do.
Do or not do.
Right.
The choice is yours.
Yes.
Right? Will you do something? They make the choice yes or no. Can you? Of course they can stop and get the milk. Do they? No. You never asked them. You said, can you do it? Well, yeah, they can. Are they going to? No. Would you stop and get the milk? Yes, I'll stop.
Yeah.
Right? Totally different, same words, slightly different brain mapping.
Yeah. I had teachers like in 4th, 5th grade, and they were teaching me that. Can I play the piano? I don't know. Can you? Can I do this? I don't know. Can you? I didn't learn that from home, but I did learn that at least at school. And it does make a difference in the brain function, I think, how your brain processes that decision making when you're coming to it with just those tiny little tweaks. It's amazing the difference it makes.
Well, and even here's an example, right? Like I was never a strong student because I just read a different problem than what was being asked, like, right? And even when I'm doing crosswords, I'm like, what is that? And I'm like, oh, that's not what I thought it was, right? I'm just reading it differently. And yes, I've been tested, and yes, I am on the spectrum, and yes, whatever, right? But it's like I had to do this little test and go through the videos, do the whatever, and do the little test after. I went into panic mode like I was back in school. And I went, wow, look how interesting this is. What an opportunity to use my own tools.
Yes.
So I start tapping it out. And I'm like, okay, cool. Right? But that's the thing. You think because you left grade six issues aren't going to come up. Sorry, they come up. And
They
especially
do.
when you have kids, because the kids are mirroring everything, right? As you are mirroring to them. If you want to be the kind and nurturing and communicative adult, show them,
Yeah.
be their role model,
Yeah.
right? And it's like your teenager comes home and you're just like, oh, I can't talk to them. I don't know what's going on. Well, if their room is normally clean and all of a sudden it's like a tornado went through and they won't clean it up and they're fighting about cleaning it up,
Mm-hmm.
they need that walk in the park or that sit down on the couch with no tech, no nothing, and just say, I'm here.
Yeah.
Say nothing until they're ready to talk because their room is a reflection of what's going on in their body. There's chaos in their body, whether it's friends, teachers, homework, we don't know. They're not talking. And then all of a sudden, they able to share, move it through, their room is clean again. They're back doing their homework.
And isn't that interesting how they go through those cycles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And our response to that, whatever cycle they're in, whatever they're going through, is going to have a great reflection in them on how they are handling that as well. You mentioned earlier about tapping.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's just such an interesting thing. And I don't think a lot of people are really aware of what tapping is and how that works. Can you expound a little bit on that?
So there's two thought forms of tapping. So one was Roger Callahan, and he was working with clients who they just weren't getting better. They just weren't getting better. And then somehow he was just like, he was starting to study the meridian points. And he started finding out different combinations that would help people, like fear of water, for instance, is a prime example of one of his examples.
Mm-hmm.
And by the talk therapy and the tapping, he would tap into the quantum field that we all have access to. And all of a sudden, he was working with this one client at his home, and he has a pool in the back. And she wasn't able to look. They always had to move the chair so she couldn't see the pool in the sessions because she'd go into automatic fear. And
Wow.
then through 2 sessions with the tapping, she says, can I walk by your pool? I think I'm ready. She never had a problem with it. So it's an added bonus to getting down to the emotion of what's going on, what's getting stuck in your body of the emotion. Like you might have dealt with the sadness of losing somebody, right?
Right.
But that doesn't mean it isn't still in your body. So your right shoulder might still have that sadness and then it stops moving. And you're like, why does my shoulder stop moving? You tap it, your shoulder starts moving.
Interesting.
And then there's also Gary Craig, who studied under Roger Callahan, spread it out to emotional freedom tech. So Roger Callahan was the thought field therapy. More people are aware of the EFT rather than THT. I was trained under Rogers, so I go with Rogers, but they both work. It's the same principle. And it speeds things up. It's like you get in the quantum field of the emotion of sadness or even happy. Like sometimes happy has connotations and you speed it up. And so it's just another tool, just like Brain Gym. Maybe some of the viewers are more aware of Brain Gym because a lot of schools use Brain Gym or yoga or meditation. It's just adding more tools to the tool belt, right? And I also think when you're doing the tapping, if you're aware of the neurolinguistic programming, it adds to recreating pathways in the brain. I've no one's proven that. That's just mine. And I just know, like, if you have a certain thing that keeps on coming up, keeps on coming up, keeps on getting triggered, it's like something has to get shifted in the brain to get a new path, and tapping can help that.
So tapping can help us with our mental processing. It can help us with, yes, with all of those
and our
things. Emotional. So I talked to you before about this, that I had a specialist that would come into my room. I had her 2 days a week just because of the population of my classroom and how she was using tapping here, tapping, where was it? Somewhere on their arm to help them work through when they would start getting really stressed out. It was even helping my kids who were on the autistic spectrum. You could start seeing them ah, and then the tapping, she would get them going. And it really did help them calm down. If I was a parent, where would I go to find out more about how to use that tapping to help my kid? Or do you have some
Well,
beginning things?
it's really interesting because you don't have to really know about tapping to use it.
Okay.
Because if someone's getting frustrated or someone's energy shifting, it's like an interruption. Even if your brain is just like, we all have the tapes. And if anyone says I don't have the tapes, then I'm like, I don't believe you. Right? Because even Eckhart Tolle, who's the known person of calm, he gets the tapes. And so the brain is, firing off all this stuff, right? And you just go,
Mm-hmm.
stop. Thanks for sharing. It's the interruption. So when you go to the tapping, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter if you hit the right spot.
Mm.
It's the interruption. So if you start going, oh, I can't breathe, just start tapping. Start tapping. And it's like, what's going on? I don't know. Something's changing. I don't know. What's going on? Oh, I gotta tap. And you know what? No one's gonna watch you tapping your thumb. Oh, better tap the other one. Better do the same thing on one side as I do on the other.
Mm.
The whole physiology change.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's making you present to the present. Chaos can't happen if you're present.
Right.
Right? So student gets a bad mark. Did they do the best job they could? Yeah. And great. That's okay. Let's look at a different way.
Yeah.
Was that student ready and centered when they wrote the test? Probably not. Because as a teacher, from the stuff that they're handing in up to that exam, they're doing really good. So what happened on the exam day? They weren't present.
So
Or they
right.
were in the fear of failing. So either they're thinking of football or they're thinking, like what happened on the way to school, right?
Mm-hmm.
They weren't present. And I would love this, and I've said this to some teachers I know, before you start your class, just get the whole class to breathe together.
Mm-hmm.
Then they're all centered in that class.
Mm-hmm.
Then they're calm, they're in their bodies, and you go, so let's start our lessons. They're going to pick up way more, right?
Yeah.
And I've worked with teachers in a school that they could do the untraditional thing.
Mm.
And then one day I come in the school and they're running and I'm like, because I see the math teacher at the front of the class I'm on. And she goes, they wouldn't sit. So we're running times tables. I'm like, cool. Right? Or if they just like, I can't sit at my desk anymore. Can I do my homework? And they go, lay on the floor.
Yeah. Yes.
Most classes can't do that.
Yeah. Well, and I think that probably just because I was teaching kindergarten, I had a lot more freedom than say ninth grade math. But we did a lot of that same stuff though, too, where they could lay down on the floor if they were reading and needed that. I remember one little girl especially just was constantly moving, and like just couldn't stop. And so she had a really hard time when we do like our circle time or we do our morning things or whatever. And so I just got her a big hula hoop and put it on the floor. And it was kind of towards the back of the circle. And as long as she stayed in there, because she would start pulling things off and doing things. But I said, you can jump, you can dance, whatever, just stay in the hula hoop. And the funny thing was, she was picking up so much more when she had the freedom to do what her body needed her to do. And so her learning accelerated when we went with whatever her body was telling her she needed to do.
Well, and that's another thing. I mean, the whole school system, it is what it is. But I was the kid that always got the notes from the doctor that I can't do the running, I can't, right? And it's funny because I'm now friends again with some high school friends, and they're like, you do what every day? And I go, I walk every day. And they're going, but you never joined us in phys ed. And I go, because I don't run. And they go, what? And I go, I'm a walker. I can walk till the cows come home. I'm not running. My body wasn't built to run. My body's built for steady, slow movements. The walking, yoga, perfectly fine. Running, team sports, absolutely not. Same with the school and learning, right?
Yeah.
So you think about that child who needed to move to learn, needed to move, but you have to, so it's not chaotic. You have to kind of put some boundaries that she knows You cross that boundary, then you can't have that freedom.
Right. And
Right?
and that's what worked.
And then I
She
know, but
loved
then
the
I would
boundary.
take it a step further. She probably can't sit because of the food intake is wrong for her system. That's a whole other
Yeah,
topic.
that's another story. Yeah. Mirroring what she was seeing in other places as well. So she had some parents that had some mental health issues, and this was how she was responding to those issues that her parents were trying to cope with. But here's the deal is, as a teacher, as a parent, you've really got to look at the whole situation instead of saying, oh, she just keeps moving and she's just not even trying or whatever. That kid was trying with all her heart.
Didn't know any better.
Just didn't know.
And so here's another example, right? So here's a son saying to his mom, I don't like you talking to my friend like that. I want you to be mom.
Yeah.
And the response is, well, I understand your feelings, like you want to be separate, but aren't you happy that mom and dad talk to you? Well, yeah. Well, don't you see your friends don't have that? I guess. So isn't it better that they talk to us rather than not talk? Right? And he's like, I get it. I'll work on it. Right? He's 12. He doesn't want his mom and dad all in his business with his friends. But his friends don't have parents that are in the business at all. Right? This is where the community comes, right?
Right. Well, and the community could be had for good or evil.
No, and trust me, yes.
And so you really want to make sure that I can't control anybody else out there, not my spouse, not my kids effectively.
You can't control yourself.
There. And so I need to breathe. A lot of the coaching that I do really is helping parents look inward. And we're going to talk about, well, what is your parenting style? What are your triggers? And then let's look at why there's that. And so why do you get mad when your child is showing independence because they're 2 and 3 years old and that's what's normal for there? Why does that trigger you? Right. And as we get talking about some of that, then they're able to better manage what's going on here. And once they have control of that, then they are more appropriate and are able to help their kids. We're not demanding our kids to do things. We're helping them through understanding and their own capabilities and independence.
Well, and it was really interesting because I was just with my nephew and I was saying, well, once again, we came to see you, but I didn't see you. Right? Because, like busy, whatever. And he goes, Auntie, what I want is my kids to have you.
Oh.
So he says, my kids got you. That makes me happy. And I go, job done.
How sweet.
Because when he was little, I raised him and his brother. When they moved away, I only went up until they moved out of the house. Right? I was there for the kids. So the little time I have with him, I truly cherish, but we are connected on a different level, right?
Right.
So because I had so much time with him from 0 to 6 every day, 40 hours a week, and on Saturdays, right? I probably had more wake time with the boys than their parents did, but that's okay. Because we all come in to do the job we've been asked to do. And if the person you come in to say, let's say, guide, right? And they're not understanding that they've asked you to come in to be that guide, okay, I'm here when you're ready.
Exactly.
Until you're ready, I say nothing.
Exactly.
I'll watch you go crazy with your teenagers and like pull your hair out and I just smile. I haven't been asked. Well, because I've had to learn to be observant because when I wasn't observant, source whacked me. I got in trouble. I'm like, huh? You weren't asked. Stop stepping in the arena. Dang it.
Yeah.
Right?
I know.
So
and for people like me, that's so hard. I always want to.
I know, but being highly sensitive, I can feel the energy. Say a new client sees this. They come on the discovery call with me. Their energy will show up before them. I'll feel their energy before they say who they are. Oh, they're coming for XY. Perfect. Right? then when we start talking, we can confirm. It's just like with us, right? We met on a call and I'm like, I gotta get to know her.
Well, and went both ways too. I mean, we've been really connected.
Because other people try to connect with me and I'll be like, not feeling it. We'll have the call and I'm like, oh, but that's okay because I'm not saying no to anybody because maybe John or Sally connect with me, but they're not connecting for them. They're connecting for people they know. All good.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm blessed for everybody who shows up.
Agreed.
And more importantly, wants to do the work.
And that's the key. I get calls, and I know you do too, sometimes from parents, and they just want this magic pill or this magic wand, and I can do this one little thing, and overnight or within a week, everything's going to be better. And then when they hear, oh, well, it's going to be some work and it's going to take some time, and I'm here to support you through that, but they just want the wand. They don't want the work. So some places you're more successful than others. But here's the thing for me, and maybe it's for you too. And then we're going to have to slow things down because we're running out of time. But even if we go through the conversations, and even if we only have 1, 2, or 3 sessions and we're done, we've planted a seed perhaps that maybe later on, or they might see something they're dealing with their kiddo and, oh yeah, let me try this. Or, oh wait, I just caught myself doing this one thing. And so even if it's a shorter time or whatever, it's worth it. All of it's worth it is what I'm saying.
And it's also just planting the seeds. So
Yeah.
they're not ready at this moment.
Yeah.
My door is open.
Exactly.
Touch base. And that's even with families. That's even with coworkers. Just keep the door open.
Yeah.
Because as you're struggling in the classroom with Tommy and Joey, what? It's Sally and Jane too.
Yes. Well, and too, as I'm dealing with Tommy and Joey, I might have Sally and Jane who are other students within the classroom and not the adults, and they're watching. They're always watching, right? I've heard parents say, oh, they're little.
No way.
Oh, no.
Breathe into it.
Yeah. Well, and two, even in the womb, we know that babies respond to the language. So they come and they're disposed because while they're in the womb, they're used to hearing French or English or Egyptian or whatever it is. And so they're picking up the stress that's around them. If people are happy and supportive around them, or if there's a lot of anger or abuse that's going on while they're in the womb, that affects that child. And so they can come out with things. And so maybe a baby's screaming all the time, or maybe.
Well, in that aspect, we got to be very careful because babies, they've been having 9 months of trying to navigate what they're hearing from the outside world. So they come in as the peacekeeper, the pleaser, that's not their job.
No. And it wasn't meant to be their job.
And like sometimes some people shouldn't have kids, but it happens.
Yeah.
Heal the trauma that you went through so you don't pass it on.
Yeah.
Because the kids being born now, they don't come in with the baggage we did. They're pure light. They don't have the baggage. But they will put it on, like as backpacks, to help you get through your love stuff.
Through yours.
And it's like, no, that's not fair on them because they've done the work. They're coming in to be the light to the new world, to be a more loving and communicative world. And it's not fair to them to put on all that stuff.
Well, and two, you know that I'm an adoptive mom. And I do think that there are people, or maybe later on, they'll be ready. Just because you have a baby doesn't mean you need to raise it. And if you're strong enough and love that child enough to recognize and let that child go to the home that's been waiting for them, you've chosen life, but you've also allowed you to go. If you're 17 and or 15, I mean, there's just all kinds of reasons that people would.
Well, that's like that Teen Mom or whatever, that show that was on.
Oh gosh.
You're celebrating the pregnancies. Like my niece had a son and his bio dad is trying to get back in his life. And he goes, why? He goes, I have a dad. I don't need another one. Right. And then I said, well, yeah, there's that. And then I have my other nephew who lost his dad as a young boy.
Mm-hmm.
And he said at 14, he goes, "No, I'm the luckiest kid ever." And I go, "Well, why is that?" And he says, "Some kids don't have one dad. I was blessed with two awesome ones." I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
how awesome.
Yeah.
Right. And then his stepdad, they're out fishing one day and he's like, all of a sudden he goes, "Dad, I need help with this lure." And he goes, "I did everything in my might not to run and hug him." And then I was laughing. I go, "First time you heard it?" He goes, "Yes."
Oh.
Right? Because he was just like, he hadn't heard that he was called
Oh.
him dad, right? He was just like, "Ugh."
Oh.
So
See, those things are precious. All right.
yeah,
So Adele,
yes. I
I
know
know,
we can talk
I
forever.
know, I know, I know. And I'm sure we'll be talking again, just us.
I know.
So how do people get a hold of you and connect with you?
They can reach me at transitionclarity.com,
Mm-hmm.
or they can go straight to the booking link that you see on this podcast
Mm-hmm.
at transitionclarity.as.me. And yeah, looking forward to anyone who connects, and any way I can help. I'd be honored to be part of the healing to move
And
forward.
so, as Adele mentioned, that is all going to be down in the show notes. And if you're listening on Rumble or YouTube, be sure to follow. And I'd love for you to leave comments, and I will share any of the comments you have with Adele, and maybe we'll get back with you even personally, or share a story, but just share and spread the love. And so leave those comments, what you like, even what you didn't like. I'm always open to different perspectives. And so just be sure and listen in and leave those comments. And if you're listening on the podcast, be sure to rate and review. And actually, I have a fun little gift for anyone who decides to leave a rating and a review on the podcast. So I would love that. Now, Adele, I always end with the same question of everybody, and that is, we know there's no perfect parents, but how would you describe a successful parent?
Wow. A successful parent to me is someone who understands they're not alone,
Mm.
that they're not a failure to ask for help, that the community is there because that's where we are. We're in
Mhm.
community of raising this next generation, and to breathe. It's the hardest job they'll ever do in life. It's the most rewarding job. And to
Absolutely.
love those kids through the best times and the worst times because they're loving you through your best.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Great job. So much interesting information. And so I just, again, encourage everyone to reach out to Adele if you're just struggling with some transitions or finding peace instead of chaos. And so, Adele, thank you very much. I know you and I will be talking again. So,
Thank you for having me on the show. It was a pleasure.
absolutely. Now, if you want to learn more about Adele and how to contact her, just click on the links in the show notes. And while you're there, hit that follow button to make sure that you're getting in on the amazing episodes that we have each week. And if you like what you hear on today's podcast, be sure to rate and review. And you can do this whether you're listening on Apple, Spotify, or some other platform. Or if you're just listening from the Imperfect Heroes podcast website, up at the top, you're going to click on reviews and then just click on leave a review. And it's that easy. And don't forget to tell a friend. That's actually the best thing that you can do to help us grow. So we've all heard it that kids don't come with a manual, but a new book came out on August 1st called The Parenting Owner's Manual. And it's a compilation of 33 family experts from all over the world. And guess who wrote chapter 3? Yours truly. And it's a chapter called From Unwitting Saboteur to Strategic Hero Parent. So order your copy today on Amazon, and guess what? The link is in the show notes. And you can also find the link on my website, which is www.littleheartsacademyusa.com, and you're going to be so surprised to hear, that link's in the show notes. All right, coming up next week is Dr. Elizabeth Arlo, who is the author of the book, First Eat Your Frog. You're not going to want to miss that one. check it out and see. And so until next time, let's find joy in parenting.